Well, you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5. Now, our next guest has been one of the most versatile sports stars on the planet. Listen to this. An All Black, 58 caps for New Zealand. Twice a World Cup winner in Rugby Union, 2011-2015. A Super League winner with the Chiefs. A twice winner of the Australian NRL Grand Final in Rugby League. An Olympian at Sevens Rugby with New Zealand. And a New Zealand heavyweight boxing champion. Welcome to Off the Ball Saturday, Sonny Bill Williams.
Off the ball. Great to be here, guys. How are you?
How are you getting on, Sonny?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. We have just finished lockdown in Australia, so life's starting to return back to normality. We're waiting on next week when the kids can go back to school. So, yeah, that'll be the real return to freedom.
Good stuff, Sonny. You got a book out. It's called You Can't Stop the Sun from Shining. Really compelling read. Really enjoyed it, Sonny, reading it over the last couple of days. Let's just go back to the start. You grew up in Auckland and you were of mixed race heritage. You're a Samoan dad and an Australian mother. You didn't have an easy growing up, Sonny. It was a bit of a tough ride for you at the start.
Firstly, I appreciate you taking the time to read it, brother. And I hope you enjoyed the read.
I did, mate. Yeah.
Yes, my childhood. I think just like many other kids, I didn't think it was, at the time, I really enjoyed my childhood. I thought I had a loving upbringing from a loving household. But, the beauty of this book, why it was so therapeutic in it, because it made me understand myself more, made me understand the reason why I strove so hard, psychotic sometimes at some points of my life to make it in the rugby scene and from a sports context, but obviously, I was well equipped to deal with the demands from a sporting context, but I was not able or well equipped to demand, in life as a man off the field.
All I get the sense through the book, reading it, Sonny, is that you love training, you love getting the best out of your body. And we saw that through the different codes of rugby. We saw that through boxing, winning that heavyweight championship in New Zealand, league and union. What's the secret? What is the Sonny Bill Williams workout? How have you been able to maximise your body in the last 15, 20 years?
Well, I think, the fear of failure really drove me. I guess not feeling like I belonged because I came from a mixed family. My dad, I didn't feel like I was too dark enough, and I didn't feel like I was white enough. So I was always feeling like I had to prove myself. And, I've been blessed, alhamdulillah, I've been blessed with God-given talent from a sporting sense. So, I ran with that and I threw all my eggs in that basket, because if I didn't make it in sport, I didn't feel like I could make it in anything. And it drove me to the heights that I reached at such a young age. Then, I was always searching for that little 1%, whether it's stretching, nutrition, mental game, all of that type of stuff always fell into that same bracket where it was, the Mike Tyson mindset, or those, the boxers mindset where they're like, I've got to do this because none of my other opponents are doing it, just for that mental strength. And I think when you grow up like I did with a low self-esteem, it drives you to certain places and certain things to reach certain heights, and it certainly drove me in a sporting context.
So say when you're playing in the World Cups in 11 and 15 for New Zealand, what would be the week-to-week, the day-to-day routine for you, Sonny, physically?
Well, obviously, we're in an age where all the boxes are ticked from a nutrition point of view, from a sport, a rugby performance, high performance point of view, especially in the All Blacks, and Ireland, England, everyone's leading the way in that sense. So there's not too much difference. For me, it was always the little 1%ers that I always, banked my game on, stretching, 30 minutes a night before I'd go to sleep, trying to sleep early, thinking about the opposition, thinking about the players that I would be coming up against. And I really enjoyed playing against the European teams, the Northern Hemisphere teams, because they love that real physical style of play, and that's what I always seem to thrive in. And I think when I look back at my career, when I think about the best rugby that I played, I always seem to play really well in the World Cups. And that was because of that. I believe it was the one percenters that I always put in extra behind the scenes, the mental approach that I took to the game. And I think that low self-esteem always drove me from a fair point of view, where I was always scared of coming up against, Wales, Ireland, England, because they were such a strong physical force, So, I guess that's where I got those little bit of extra motivation that drove me to the heights that I was able to achieve from a rugby point of view.
Because it's interesting, you were a teenager and you won the NRL, you won the Aussie Rugby League title with the Bulldogs in 2004, and you're talking about that low self-esteem. Would it be fair to say that you went off the rails for a while, Sonny, before you moved to France and moved to Toulon, that, you succumbed to drink, to drugging, to maybe casual relationships, and maybe that sport was in a way a saviour, but also you're trying to find yourself through life. You're a bit of a kid.
100%. I feel like I was just a product of society, brother. I wasn't equipped to deal with a high performance space. In my household growing up, as you know from reading the book, we had no wallpaper on the wall. We came through, or we grew up in a housing commission household. Mom and dad slept in the lounge room, so we had a room. I was never equipped to. I was never sat down by mom and dad and said, like, if you make it in this high performance area, these are the pitfalls that you have to watch out for. A true man is a man that sticks by his own moral compass no matter what. He doesn't just follow the leader, that type of stuff. It was all about survival. It was all about paying the rent that week, So although that struggle drove me to heights and success so early on the sporting field, off the field, I wasn't equipped to deal with life. And I went through a real tough stage, and writing this book, I knew I needed to be authentic and talk about the things that I'm embarrassed about, talk about the struggles that I have, because, I understand young boys, young girls, whoever's reading it, a lot of people come from that same struggle, and I'm proud of the man that I see in the mirror today, because I understand that, I put that same effort into being a sportsman. I put that effort into being a better human, a better man. And for so long, I got the manufactured highs from drugs, alcohol, womanizing, treating women like they shouldn't be treated. Then I'd wake up and I'd feel soulless. I'd feel disgusting. But now the beauty of the highs that I'm chasing the natural high where I'm trying to be a better person, better human. And I wake up feeling empowered. And I guess that's my journey. And if I can share a bit of that, how I got to where I am now through trial and error, a lot of trials and a lot of errors, and some people get some goodness from it, then I'll consider this book a success.
It wasn't very popular at the time, but you left in 2008. You just we call it in Ireland, Sonny, doing a legger. You just quit. You quit the Bulldogs and you went to France. You went to Toulon to play Union. But I find when I'm reading the book that this and your embracing of the Islam faith saved you in a way and brought you to a different place in life.
100%. I was so blessed. I didn't know what I was doing, but it was just all encompassing, everything. And now when I look back, it was just the lifestyle that I was living, the party lifestyle, making selfish decisions. But at the same time, I was trying to find myself, I wanted to be better, but I didn't know how, and all of this time the facade was how good I was playing on the field. Oh yeah, he's got everything worked out because he's still one of the best players in the world and I was playing some of the best footy that I'd ever played, But, at that time I wasn't man enough. I should say I wasn't confident enough in my own self, to go and say, look, this is how I'm feeling. I'm deeply unhappy. I need a change in my life, or else, something bad might happen to me. I was really scared of where my life might end up, So the blessing of going to Europe was you go from the bubble of Sydney where everyone knows who you are, the athlete privileges of, being led in here or giving this first or, naturally that affects your ego in a negative way. Whereas when I went to Europe, you're relatively unknown. No one really knows who you are. It's a punch to the ego, but it was a much needed punch that I needed. And meeting, I don't know if you remember in the book, I met a beautiful Tunisian family who I'm still really close with now, a Tunisian Muslim family. I generally spent most of my time with them instead of the mansion that I had over in Toulon. So a lot of these things, these great things for myself, the growth in myself were happening off the field. But then on it, I got to meet a beautiful man named Johnny Wilkinson. And for him to empower me on the field the way that he did, you know, in scrimmages, he would pull me up and say, "What are you seeing, Sonny? We need you with the ball in the hand, Sonny." You know, he'd break the game down so simply for me, and he'd just give me time. And for me, that was so empowering for a young, shy player who's trying to learn a new game. You know, here is one of the best players to have ever played the game, talking to me like, you know, I'm on his level. It was really empowering. So those 2 years that I spent in France were great for my journey, not just as a sportsman, but as a person in general, brother.
There's a quote in the book, Sonny, where a coach says to you, and this really jarred with me, "You aren't turning Muslim, are you?" And this faith obviously very important to you and is shaping your life now. To the extent that there's an explainer of Islam in the book, now nearly 2 billion people around the world identify themselves as Muslim. Did you encounter prejudice because of your faith?
Yes, and, you know, I still do. But for me, I've always been a man of God growing up. Alhamdulillah, I stumbled upon Islam. And Islam, for me, Islam is... I can't tell you how you feel, brother. You know, you can't tell me how I feel deep down. And for me, one of the reasons why I'm so unapologetic to be so proud of my faith and what it's given, it's because it's what it's given me. Quite simply, it's given me happiness. You know, Islam, for me, gave me the structure, the daily structure to fight the struggles that I have had in this world, in this society. You know, praying 5 times a day, for example, you know, gives me that gratitude, that empathy that I need to be happy in this world. You know, the struggles don't just come once a week. They come every day for myself, or in my journey, that's how I've experienced. So it's really, Islam has really given me the medicine for the scars that I've had, not just the sticky plaster, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. So one of the reasons you turned to union was also the dream of becoming an All Black. So you went down to New Zealand then again, and you spent time with the Chiefs. You won a Super Rugby title with them. You had Bundee Aki as a teammate, so you must have observed his journey with Ireland with an interest, Sonny.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Bundee. We go way back. We're close mates. You know, and I always knew he was special. I remember in that 2012 season, he was working as a bank teller, I think, and he came in. He was, you know, training trial, or he's just in the wider squad. We did a scrimmage, and he was the number 12 for the opposition. And I thought, you know, this young fellow, I'll show him. I rush up on him and just, you know, that mental, I guess, you know, just put that mental warfare, so to speak. It means a lot when you're playing, especially against opposition players. So I thought, I'll put it on him. I'll get up in his face, sprint it up. I sprinted up to put it on him, and he did a little in and out on me, made a mad break, set up a training try. But from that day, I knew that he would be something special, and it just so happened to be that the next year I went back to rugby league, and he cemented himself in that starting role that I vacated in 2013, and he was instrumental in them winning the competition. So him going over to Ireland, it was just a matter of time, from my point of view, for him to get to the world-class level that he's got to.
Yeah, you went to the Roosters, didn't you, Sonny? What's your view? What's been the view? Because we have our own view of what the Irish rugby team has been, and we've had a successful decade with Joe Schmidt and winning the Grand Slam and winning Six Nations titles. The World Cup has not been...
Sorry, brother, can you... just 2 seconds, all my kids are just so
no problem.
Noisy. Hey, kids, can you be quiet, please?
I think we'll keep. I think we'll keep that bit in, Sonny. I think we'll keep that bit in the interview because it's kind of funny.
Yeah, no worries.
Just on Ireland, the view in New Zealand of Ireland. It took us over 100 years to beat New Zealand, and we did it in Chicago, and then we did it again in Dublin. Here, we've had a good decade. We Joe Schmidt. We won a Grand Slam, a few Six Nations titles. We haven't been as lucky in the World Cup. What's the view in New Zealand of Irish rugby?
Strong, very strong, and I think. For me, I was there. I witnessed that great game in Dublin when you guys got over us. Although I didn't play, I was injured at the time. Just being in Ireland, I remember I had an awesome conversation with a taxi driver. But I think for us as Kiwis, we have that affinity with you people because of the struggles that you guys have faced throughout your history. You know, the famine, I think it was.
Yeah.
You guys are really strong people, strong-willed people, and for me, my personal view on Ireland is I respect you guys tremendously because you guys leave it all out there on the field, but then off the field, you're a gentleman. You guys are gentlemen, so you guys have come a long way in rugby, and I just put it down to that strength in your character, fighting against the odds, all of that type of stuff, and it shows in your rugby. And then you have, obviously, you're the great coach. You came from New Zealand, and like many of the coaches have, and he bring that free style, loving play of rugby, and I think it allowed a lot of the athletes that you guys have in your team to express themselves beautifully. None more so than that great try you guys scored down the blind side with that little chip and chase. I think when it comes to World Cups, I know in the last World Cup, you guys were very unlucky. I don't know what I was. To be honest, I thought Bundee Aki getting suspended was a big loss for you guys before our game. I knew that it relieved a lot of pressure off us. I'm a big fan of Ireland, the Irish people, and I've always enjoyed playing Ireland over the years. And I love your guys' anthem more than anything.
You should. We'll send you the words if you don't know already. It's an inspiring anthem.
Ireland.
Well, that's Ireland's call. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. The shoulder to shoulder.
Yes.
The offloading. That's what you're known for a lot of the time, Sonny. I think you've always had an approach where you bring flair to rugby, and you don't like the game to be overcoached.
100%. I think for me, the key to the game is the simplicity of it. If I've always, and that's just, my opinion. I've always played my best footy when my mind has been cleared and I know my role, the simplicity of it. And I feel like that's the best same with players. Great coaches or good coaches are people managers, are motivators, I feel. And the main ingredient is the players. And I think sometimes we get caught up in this coach being this or that coach being that, I've found throughout my career that the best coaches are the ones that can get, the Bundee Akis or whoever you're talking about to play consistently at 90 to 100% of their potential. And that's an art in itself. That's always been my view, and it will always be my view when it comes to the game of rugby union.
You've gone to the Olympics in Rio. You did get injured, but you were an Olympian. You've also boxed, Sonny, so you won the heavyweight championship of New Zealand. How did you find boxing as an individual sport compared to league and union as team sports?
Tough, man. I was crapping myself, and it's still a struggle getting in the ring, but I love it at the same time because of the growth it brings. For me, boxing, I never thought I'd jump in the ring. It was through necessity. Obviously, if you read the book, you understand I was in $1 million debt when I went to
That is mad.
France.
You were on the hook for £1 million. Imagine if you got injured or if your career had ended with a knee injury, something like that. That was thinking to myself.
Well, if you also from reading the book, you understand the activist streak I have in me, and I get that from my mom, so you would understand that. So it was like, all right, I'm doing this. But when it came to the boxing and I had to pay my good mate Chok Mandine back part of it, he said, come jump on the card. I said, oh, well, I need to pay some money back. So it was through necessity, but I lit a fire in myself that I haven't been able to put out. And now, now at the young age of 36, I've dedicated myself at least for 24 months. Well, you know, my wife has given me 24 months to tick that box because, you know, I've been to the Olympics, I've done everything in both codes. You know, I don't want, you're a long time retired, and I don't want to leave that itch there, knowing that I haven't itched it. You know, I always wanted to see how I'd be after 12 months, 24 months, rather than a 6-week camp or a 12-week camp.
So what's the aim, Sonny? Where do you want to go in boxing?
As far as I can go. As far as I can go, you know, I'd love to fight up in Europe. I'd love to fight up there. I'd love to fight in Ireland, England, if I can get to that standard. I know where I am in the sport. I know I've got to crawl before I walk. But, you know, anything's possible. I didn't think that I'd, you know, be a 2-time World Cup winning All Black at the start of my career. So, you know, I'm just going to work hard every day and see where it takes me, brother. You
were sparring with Joseph Parker. He was in the dressing room last weekend with Tyson Fury.
Yeah, he was. I sparred with him before he went pro. So he was only a young fella, but we've stayed close over the years, and I'm a big fan of Joe. Big fan of Fury, AJ, White, Usyk. You know, I'm a massive boxing avid boxing fan. So you know, God willing, I'll be able to fight on that level one day. We'll see.
It seems from the book that it's more physically exhausting than anything else you've done boxing.
100%. When I thought Francis Botha, you know, I took the wrong, you know, I jumped in with the approach that, okay, he's old. You know, I'm young, I'm naturally fit, I'll be all right. Coming off an injury, pec surgery, I only had 2.5 weeks to spar and actually prepare for the fight. And he took me to a place that I've never been before physically. And that 9th and 10th round, it was just by, I guess, intuition that I stayed standing and I finished the fight. I remember after the first round, I went back to the corner and I sat down and I was thinking to myself, man, I'm struggling physically, you know, just from that, you know, the nervous energy being spent before the fight, all of that type of stuff. So for me, it's all about respecting the sport now and doing my due diligence before I get in the ring.
But what have you found easier to play in your career, league or union?
I think league always came easy for me because I grew up as a league man. You know, I grew up as a league man. But to be honest, I don't think I missed the stepping into the rugby world. I think it was just the reason why I think the rugby traditionalists didn't really like my style of play when I came to the game of rugby union. But I never felt out of place, or I never felt like I couldn't succeed on the rugby union field as well. So it was great to be able to go back after 5 years out of the game and take a more well-rounded, skillful approach to the game of rugby league and succeed in it too. So yeah, when I think about the sporting career, I'm really grateful for what I've been able to be a part of out there.
Just in some of the union moments, because union is a sport that we love over here, Sonny. Do you remember squaring up to Cian Healy at all in 2012? I think there was a couple of moments in a test match there and down in our tour of New Zealand.
Yeah, I think he was putting it on my mate Ben Franks. I'm real close with the Franks boys, so I just ran in there and then I remember I tried to push him off, and then when he grabbed me, I remember thinking, wow, this boy's a strong boy. But obviously, you know, that mental warfare, you can't back down. And I think, if I remember correctly, I was in the wrong stance to throw a punch. So I remember thinking, when he grabbed me, I thought, man, this guy looks like he can throw him. So I turned and I was just ready. You know, I was ready. I don't want to throw down because he was a big boy, but I was ready, you know what I mean?
Very good. Very good. proper church, we call him over here, Cian Healy, Leinster legend.
He's a beast, bro. He's a beast.
An Irish legend. The 2011 World Cup final, that was mad. That was suffocating. New Zealand had missed out on many World Cups. They hadn't won it in 24 years, and then you beat France 8-7. That must have been some tense atmosphere.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome to finally get the I guess, stuck off the back, so to speak. For me, that was one of my goals, to go back and be a part of the World Cup winning squad that hadn't won since '87. You know, they'd been favourites going into every World Cup since then, and they still hadn't won. So it was a special time. And like I said, I'm always, from a personal point of view, I'm always really proud of the things that I've been able to, how I've played and added value to the team, especially in the big games and World Cups.
And 15, you came on at half-time, you were involved in a try, and then you gave your medal to a teenager.
Yes. I didn't know he was a teenager at the time. I felt, my empathetic heart really felt for him. I just thought he was a young fella. I'll tell you a story. I've said it in a couple of interviews. For us, that World Cup, because we were trying to go back-to-back, we had the mindset of who dares wins. So that's how we had to play. We had to win the competition. We didn't go in there thinking that, we're going to ease our way to going back-to-back. It was like who dares wins every game. And I just remember thinking, man, this guy is ballsy, this young fella, He definitely had that mindset of who dares wins, and he come up trumps in the end. For me, I don't really think too much of it, to be honest, when I gave him the medal. I don't really keep any memorabilia. I always give it away. So I didn't really think too much of it, but obviously it got blown right out of proportion probably. And I remember sitting in the dressing rooms and Shags came up to me and he's like, "Did you give your medal away?" And I said, "Yeah, why?" I had almost forgotten about it. But I had a little think. I said, "Man, I hope that gold medal doesn't have gold in it."
Did they give you a replacement, Sonny?
Yeah, they did. And to be fair, his family,
Charlie Lyon is his name,
yeah. Charlie, we're close, bro. I still speak to him. I've caught up with him. I've met his family, and he's got a lovely family. And to be fair, they got onto me straight away and said, "Oh, excuse Charlie and his actions. Would like to give you the medal back." But I said, "Nah, tell him to keep it. It's all good." So yeah, me and Charlie speak a lot over the years, and I'm really proud to think where that young man has gone in his life. He's moved into the charity space, so he's been really trying to help out people from that point of view.
Well, the book is called "You Can't Stop the Sun from Shining," Sonny. Just before we go, obviously you're going to stick with the boxing, you're going to give that a shot, but also I get the real sense, Sonny, that you want to advocate on behalf of people that are maybe less fortunate. You detailed that you were in the Lebanon observing refugees. You had that awful terrorist attack in Christchurch on the mosques. You want to use your profile to maybe advocate a better way for people.
And yeah, exactly. I understand in this world, in this life, I'm just a blip in the ocean. But it might sound a little bit selfish, but the underlying thing in faith that's always been compelling to me is in giving you receive. And for me, when I give my time, be a better person, help out the less fortunate, think about others, essentially I receive that empowerment that I'm after.
Well, Sonny Bill Williams, you're a legend of rugby union, league, boxing and New Zealand, and we wish you the very best luck going forward. We'd like to thank you for speaking to Ireland and speaking to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk.
Thanks a million.
So best luck, Sonny, and I'm sure we'll talk again. Take care.
Thank you, brother. Take care, man.
Cheers.